Saying goodbye to 2024 wasn't that difficult. I mean, just do you guys remember how much slop there was? I know everybody did a top 10 list of how bad things really were. I didn't even really bother, mostly because, well, trying to contain it to just 10 would leave out so many other additions, but it was, oh my god, it was really bad. Okay, there were very few standout things, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth aside. But also, I can go ahead and celebrate that in a couple weeks' time because it's getting its PC release, but I'll be talking about that tomorrow, I think. But taking a look at the grander scope of 2025, here we are just a couple of days into the year, and well, it's going to be a big old transformational moment in history, okay? Because for what it seems like right now, this is kind of the deep breath before the plunge. Not a lot of stuff is happening. I mean, you've got the certification of the vote happening on the 6th, which is, of course, going to be something quite interesting, especially given recent vehicle-related news. I want to do something on that, but I also want to give it a couple of days, mostly because there's a lot of interesting news coming out about that, but I digress. That's another story for another time. But after the certification, then you've got the inauguration on the 20th, and then you got Rebirth's PC on the 23rd, and then the slot machine turns on, because you got your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man on the 31st, and then February, yeah, that's when the dam breaks. And 2025, I mean, you take a look at the most anticipated movies of the year, and well, it's all just derivative slop, honestly. And I'm sure, like, I look at that list, and it's funny because the movie that's more than likely going to make the most this year, Avatar 3, nowhere on that. It's a microcosm of that phenomenon right there, right? Like, nobody looks forward to the Avatar movies. They come out into the theaters, they make $2 billion, and then the moment that they leave the theaters, everybody forgets what happens. It's amazing. I'm wondering if it's going to happen again. I won't be surprised if it does, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't, because I don't even know how to assess this, because I look at this top 10 list and I could see multiple billion-dollar hits, but I could also see 10 bombs on the horizon. I don't know what to take of Superman. A lot of interest, but is that going to be genuine go to the theater interest, or is that just going to be, yeah, I'll watch a trailer online? I don't know for sure. 28 years later, I mean, that's the best trailer that I've seen in a long time, but horror movies, zombie stuff, isn't really my cup of tea. It'll be interesting to see how well that does, and that's a franchise that's been dormant for quite a while. And then, yeah, the third time doing the Fantastic Four, and that releases within days of Superman. How to Train Your Dragon live action, the Thunderbolts. Who's actually looking forward to that? Captain Black Falcon America, man. I mean, that's going to be the first of many bombs this year, okay? And then, yeah, number 7, Snow White. That's coming out in March. God, it's going to be fun. And then another Jurassic World, that Minecraft movie, which is, I think that's the quintessential. I don't know. Is it going to make $1 billion, or is it going to make 200 million? Not. Are we looking at another Borderlands, or are we looking at another Super Mario Brothers? I don't know. I legitimately don't know when it comes to that Minecraft movie. It's like, does the stench of Jack Black knock that out of contention of being a box office juggernaut? Or is the IP just strong enough to supersede the horrific casting? I don't know. And then Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, a movie that is the sequel to one that performed so bad they had to change the name of both Dead Reckoning Part 1 to just simply Dead Reckoning, and now this, $600 million Bon Voyage to Ethan Hunt. I don't know, man. And you take a look at the grander scope of Hollywood this year, and bro, there is so many derivatives. Another Tron movie, Mathregan 2, Freaky Friday 2, bro. What are we doing? The Conjuring, just a bunch of 4s and 6s, and why are we doing so much stuff? And then, of course, yeah, Saw 11. Like, it'll be interesting to see, because I could see 2025 being worse than 2023 at the box office, but this could be the year that things are as good and potentially better than 2019. I legitimately don't know. I don't know what people's perception are on the entertainment industry when it comes to Hollywood. I won't be shocked either way. I just kind of want to know how it's going to play out. There's some obvious bombs on the horizon, and then there's some obvious hits in the making. And I hope that there's more good than bad. It's just when you've been doing this stuff for a certain amount of time, pattern recognition immediately kicks in. You know what's going to be a disaster. And while my perception of Hollywood is a little bit more touch and go, when it comes to gaming, I mean, things and trends are a little bit easier, especially after this year, to suss out. Because in the first half of the year, you got quite a few heavy hitters coming out. Like I said before, you got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PC, which, to my estimation, by every available metric, it's going to be huge. I really hope that more people get a chance to play that and experience how great of a game that is. And then that also prompts Square Enix to release Part 3 on PC at the same time, which, I don't know, man, maybe for nostalgic purposes, I'll get it on PS5, but then at the same time, it's like, you know, you're getting that day one PC port that's going to be nice. It's going to be real nice, but I digress. I'll talk about that later, but Monster Hunter Wilds coming out in February 18th or something like that. Oh, no, 28th. Okay, so right at the end of the month. That's going to be huge. That's going to be Capcom's big mover on the year, okay? And that's right here because we've got the Steam DB, we got the Steam wishlist chart up right now, and it's the number one most wish listed, or at least fastest grower. I don't necessarily know how they measure this stuff because, yeah, there's some other games, and obviously it's like Silksong, okay, yeah, that's going to be very popular whenever it does come out, but it's tough to say. But then, yeah, you got Civ 7, which I like the Civ games. I don't like what I'm seeing coming out of that one, and that's coming out, yeah, February. That's coming out real quick as well. And then an interesting one that was on here when I was doing a little bit of early look, okay, yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Hopefully that does extremely well because, oh yeah, the Epic Game Store, they just released, what was that, on New Year's Eve or something like that? They just gave away the first one for free, which was nice. I snagged it up and I need to play it, and I seen a few people play it way back when it was released in 2018. Looks fun as hell. But yeah, Doom the Dark Ages, and then yeah, Avowed at 30th most wish listed. It'll be interesting because, yeah, that's the Obsidian game that we've been tracking as well, and it looks like it's cut from the cloth of the Veilguard, so it'll be something. But yeah, you know, you got Rebirth down there, which is 24th on the top sellers, but more on that later. So yeah, that's going to be a big thing. But there's something that is expressly missing from the top 100, and in fact, you need to go down to 118 before you get to Assassin's Creed Shadows, which releases apparently February 14th, but you can't even pre-order the game right now. I find that to be very interesting, and especially when you compare and contrast that with the desperation Ubisoft is finding themselves in. A brother Ubisoft value tank. Market cap dropped 85% from 2021 to 2025. 2025 is going to be a very transformational year for all of entertainment. It's just, I don't think Ubisoft is going to be on the other side of this transformation, and if they are, it's definitely going to be under new leadership. Let's take a look at this. Once a titan in the gaming industry, yeah, man, I've said it before, I was a big fan of the Assassin's Creed games, and I even dipped before most people did. Black Flag really didn't resonate with me, and for most people, that's a high point in the series. It didn't start to fall off until the next game, with Unity being a buggy disaster. Funny how launches for games have been shit for just about a decade at this point in time, and then Syndicate, which is kind of weird. Don't really hear about that one, but that was the first time they had the dual protagonists, and that one was the inflection point for Ubisoft, where they ended up taking a couple of years off before they released, what was it, Origins came out, then Odyssey, and then Valhalla, and now they're trying to make Shadows a thing. Good luck. But Ubisoft has experienced a dramatic and concerning decline in value over the past 4 years, from a market cap of $12.17 billion in January of 2021. So right at the cusp of that big tech bubble that was gestated during the time of the lockdowns. They were right there at the top, like, you know, Peloton and streaming services, except for Disney Plus. How old did that profitability in 2024 work out for you? Oh well. The company's value plummeted to a mere $1.7 billion by January of 2025. That is atrocious. Holy shit, man. Like I was saying before with Ubisoft, it's like, yeah, they used to be a mark of quality. Tom Clancy games, Far Cry, Rayman, Beyond Good and Evil. They have so many IPs at their disposal. They're just not doing anything with them. It's crazy. Like, you even get a license for Star Wars and you release one of the buggiest disasters. And even though, you know, some of the polish has eventually been done to it through updates and stuff like that, but the game is still written in crayon. It's really bad. Don't let anybody gaslight you into thinking that now that the patches have come out, it's actually a pretty decent game. No, it's ass. It's like that Indiana Jones game. Don't let anybody's jaded perception of the rest of the industry being the drizzling shits try to tell you that, oh, actually it's pretty good. No, it's boring, it's bland. Oh, but it pays respect. It's better than Dial of Destiny. Yeah, getting kicked in the nuts with a frozen boot is better than the Dial of Destiny. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm lining up legs akimbo. Just have consistent standards. Is that too much for people? Anyways, this represents an alarming loss of approximately 85% of its market value, underscoring severe financial turmoil and strategic missteps that have left the Assassin's Creed developer struggling to maintain its foothold in a highly competitive industry that you had such a leg up on. At that $12.17 billion mark, how many other studios were you even in competition with at that point in time? Like I've said it before, like back when E3 was a thing, Ubisoft they were one of the heavy hitters. They, alongside EA and the three big console manufacturers, they were the ones who were putting on stage shows, not simply as a vanity project, but it was because they had stuff to announce that people would actually watch. But yes, in January of 2021, the $12.17 billion cap was hit, and then by January of last year, so a year removed from now, okay, in 2024, the company's value had been cut by over 74%, dropping it to $3.14 billion. Yo, that's crazy. And then just this past year, they lost another $2 billion? Shit. I guess 1.5, okay? I don't want to oversell it, Christ. Still got a couple of months and a game to apparently release. I don't know, man. I've said this before and might as well reiterate it. I don't think that Assassin's Creed is releasing in February, okay? I think if they're smart, okay, and as desperate as they are right now, they know that they're probably staking their financial and independent future on the success of this game. They're going to need it to release in a very playable state, okay? It can't be buggy. They can't patch this after the fact. I think that they wait until a big conference, a big showcase or something like that. Push it off on that, closer to that date, so that they could also say, hey, look at, yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming out, and then, oh, take a look at what else we have in the pipe, okay? Here's a new Watch Dogs game, okay? Here's a new Tom Clancy game. Hey, we got another Far Cry coming out. At least give people a reason to be excited about Ubisoft. But then, of course, this is all contingent on Shadows being a good game. I don't know if they're capable of that, though. Maybe that's why this will just eventually be slopped out in February. People will laugh at it. It'll just have record low numbers for the franchise when it comes to concurrent players. And then eventually Tencent will swoop in, buy the company out, and it'll just become a subsidiary of the Chinese Communist Party. Fantastic. But yes, the downward trajectory continued unabated into 2025, where the market cap further decreased by nearly 43% from the previous year, settling at $1.78 billion. The total reduction of $10.39 billion over the past 4 years highlights deep-rooted issues to the company's operations and strategy. And yeah, we spent the better part of last year detailing how Ubisoft started the year off. Remember how they started the year by saying, gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games. They need to get used to signing up for streaming services where you can just have games as a service. Funny, because there was also another report that came out that in 2024, there was a 23% across the board reduction in people spending money on streaming services, even though prices for all of those services continued to go up. It's very interesting to see how people are starting to get hip to these slop factories that are coming out, just putting content out for content's sake, just the sheer churn, because like we started off by taking a look at what Hollywood's doing this year, you go back to last year, and it wasn't like there was a lack of tentpole releases. It's just they all sucked, okay? And even when something did bomb, outside of the Acolyte, like that was a phenomenon in and of itself, but you had so many seasons of TV come out. High-profile TV series, like the House of the Dragon Season 2. It was well-viewed, but did anybody talk about it afterwards? Well, it kind of ended on a thud. And it's like, okay, I understand that. Arcane Season 2, it was... The first season had incredible word of mouth that ended up growing the show, but the moment that Season 2 wrapped up after the release of the third arc in 3 consecutive weeks, I mean, nobody was talking about it afterwards. Big, huge movies, like Joker 2, bombed. Everybody stopped talking about it. Justifiably so. That was AIDS. No, I'm not talking about what, Arthur Fleck picked up in the shower afterwards. It was a bad year. It was a bad year that proved the disposability of entertainment, which underscores these bloated budgets on projects that need to appeal to the mass audiences, but they're pulling in fewer and fewer people. That's also a big problem because we don't know what the budget for Assassin's Creed Shadows is, but we knew that in the case of Star Wars Outlaws, it was the biggest marketing campaign that Ubisoft has ever put on, meaning that there's at least 9 digits out there, hundreds of millions of dollars lost because we've heard that the sales were trash. You can go ahead and track them now on Steam, and that game did nothing over on that platform. Even with the big winter sale that went on that just wrapped up, I don't think it peaked anywhere in the top 100, which is pathetic for a big tentpole Ubisoft release. Thinking about that 10, 15 years ago, it would have been unheard. And now with all of the competition in February, both in the cinema and on the consoles and on the PC, Assassin's Creed Shadows, it might be a favorable outcome for them to be lost in the shuffle, but Ubisoft, they really need to hit on this one because they don't have much further to fall. Going from $12 billion market cap to barely $1.5 billion in 4 short years shows you that if you continue to make bad choice after bad choice, poor decision making will be rewarded in kind, and you won't be a studio to reflect on your failings for a 5th year. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.